Hey guys, it's Loaf, back with another build guide. The focus on our build today is one of the new uniques we got this patch that allows you to transform your wolves into bleed-inflicting squirrels. With that being said, this build will require the new unique, Herald of the Scurry. If you guys do enjoy the guide and like to see more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe to the video. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get into the build. Alright, now before we get into any of the skills or passives, I do want to cover the required unique that I was talking about earlier. So this is the new Helmet Herald of the Scurry. So the reason why we're using this is that it's converting your Summon Wolf ability into a Summon Squirrel ability. And what it does is it summons twice the amount of wolves that you would have as squirrels instead. They do less damage, but because there's more of them, and this is a bleed build, it's going to apply a lot more bleeds a lot quicker. We're just having more attacks go off. So the main stats that you're looking for here is trying to get that bleed chance as high as possible and hopefully get a +3 to summon wolves. Those will be the biggest difference. Everything else will be fairly minor. Now for our first skill, we are going to be using Summon Wolf. This is going to apply everything in this tree to our squirrels instead. Now for the first points here, what I went over and took is I went over here to the canine agility. This will give some base dodge to your minions, as well as giving them some percent dodge based on your strength rating. It's more of a travel note than anything. Then we'll go over and grab all 4 points into Serrated Claws for that 100% melee bleed chance. This is going to be a bleed build, so everything that your minions damage is going to be doing here is going to be bleed related. Then we'll take the 4 points into Patient Hunters for the 60% increased bleed effect and 60% damage over time. After that, we're going to go over here, grab the 2 points into Lupine Endurance for the 30% increased health, 2 points into Woven Recovery for the 150% health regen. This is mainly just a travel node, this isn't going to do a whole lot. 1 point into Earthborn, so it gives you 100 armor and physical leeched, or physical health leeched 5%. That's massive because that does apply to your bleed since they are all physical damage. And then a huge note here is Pack Hunters. This is going to give you +1 maximum wolves and +1 maximum companions. With some of the uniques or passive points that you could take in this tree, you are going to be able to summon squirrels up to your maximum companion limit. After that, we'll go and grab the 5 points of On the Hunt. This will give you 50% increased attack speed and movement speed. Movement speed is very important for this build. Companions in the Primalist tree and Beastmaster tree, they don't have any really AoE abilities, so in order to get decent clear and monos, you need to stack movement speed on them. And then I took 1 point into Howl of the Might. It's going to give you 10% damage and 10% dodge rating. That effect is tripled if they've howled recently. I have my Howl on autocast. It's constantly going off, so we have this almost 100% uptime. If you really wanted to, you could grab 1 point into Savage Hunters instead. That'll just give you 15% damage all the time, but I think that this is a better option. If you guys don't have the Fang unique amulet, then you can go ahead and just grab 1 point into Safety in Numbers. This will make it so your wolves can summon up to your maximum companion limit. Either one works. I'm currently using the amulet just because it's easier for gearing, but it doesn't really matter. It's not required by any means. For the second skill, we will be using Ice Thorns. This is mainly just for defense and for proccing one of our aspects that we'll go through later in the passive tree. To build out this skill, we're going to take 3 travel points here into Dagger Thorns, 2 points into Bramble Armor. This is going to give us a 20% chance whenever we're hit to cast Ice Thorns, 4 points into Spell Thorns for the additional 20% chance to cast when we are hit, for a total of 40%. We'll take 1 travel point here. Then we're going to go into Thorn Barrier. This is going to give us some armor every time Ice Thorns is cast to help keep us alive. We'll take the 4 points into Bulb Shield. It's going to give us an additional 40% chance that every time we proc Ice Thorns, it's going to proc again. This is just going to really help us have 100% uptime on our aspect buffs. And then the remaining 4 points will go into Bark Shield for additional armor on cast. And then for the 1 point over here will be the Emblem of Might. Since we are using a two-handed melee weapon, it just makes the mana cost 0. The mana costs on this build can be a little bit intensive if you want to keep 100% uptime on all the buffs, so this greatly helps negate a lot of that. For the third skill, we're using Warcry. Warcry is going to give us a ton of buffs, both offensively, defensively, and it's going to give us a ton of sustain for the build. What you're going to want to do is go into Juggernaut first. It's going to make you invulnerable after Warcry. Next, you'll take the 3 points into Breath of Atera. So Warcry also restores health, so it's going to give you 300 health. And that is doubled when you're on low life as well. Next, we'll grab the point into Invigorate. So this is going to make the Breath of Atera also apply to your minions, so it's going to give them a ton of sustain. You'll grab the 1 point into Purging Shout to cleanse all ailments, so anytime you're getting massive amounts of poison stacks or anything like that, this is going to immediately pull it off you. You'll then take the 1 point over here. This is going to apply Frailty on any enemies that are nearby when you use Warcry, making them deal less damage to you. And then we'll take the 5 points into Toxic Companions. This is going to give all your squirrels 100% bleed chance, so that's massive. Then you'll have a few travel points here. So we're going to take 1 point here as travel, 1 point here as travel, the 2 points into Shredding Howl. Even though we are a bleed build, this applies the bleed from you and not your squirrels, so it's going to deal almost no damage. These are just travel points. And then we'll take the 1 point into Shallow Breath. This is going to make Warcry have a 50% less on its cooldown, but it no longer guarantees a stun, freeze, or fear, which is completely fine. We'll take the utility here of the extra heals and damage over the CC. And then for the last points here, you'll grab Hastily Advance. So as long as you hit one enemy with Warcry, you're getting a buff for 30%. And then we take 2 points here into Energized Charge, just for increased haste duration from the previous buff and the mana efficiency. And lastly, for the final skill, we're going to be taking Summon Frenzy Totem. So this is a totem you're going to place on the ground that frenzies all near allies, which includes your squirrels, giving them 20% attack speed, so making them apply those bleeds faster. We're going to start out by putting the 2 points into Reinforced Totem to give it extra health and duration. Put 2 points into Reach for extra area of effect. And then a really big node for us is the 4 points into Healing Pulse. So while in range of your Frenzy Totem, you have a chance to cast Atera's Blessing on a random ally each second. So this is going to help make it a lot easier for us to pull off the Atera's Blessing on multiple squirrels, giving them those crazy buffs and giving ourselves the sustain from it as well. Next up, you'll grab the 3 points into Revitalizing Totem. The health regen is okay, but it's mainly just travel points. We'll take the 3 points into Symbol of Haste. So when you summon a Frenzy Totem, you and your companions grant haste. That's going to be massive since that movement speed is so important for our minions to be able to give it to them since they don't get it from our Warcry. And then we'll take the 1 point into Symbol of Selflessness. So Frenzy's Totem's buffs are more effective, but they only affect your companions. We don't really care about attacking faster or any of that. We're already getting haste from other sources, so this is going to give an extra 30% of the buffs to our squirrels. Next, we'll take the 2 points into Rabidity for the increased Frenzy effect. Then 2 points over here for Travel Nodes. It'll give them some melee physical damage, which since we are stacking physical, it'll do a little bit, but it's mainly just for travel. Then we'll take the 1 point into Furious Cry. So summoning Frenzy Totem refreshes companion abilities cooldowns. So that's going to count for the Howl for the squirrels, which gives them a ton of damage. So this is a really important node. And now for the base Primalist tree, we're going to start taking the 6 points in Gift of the Wilderness for health for both you and your minion. You'll then take the 6 points into Primal Medicine for 30% minion damage, and your minions will receive a portion of the healing you get from potions. Take the 5 points into Hunter's Restoration for that 10% increased health. And the last 3 points into Ancient Call from both health for you and your minion again. Now, even though we are specializing in the Beastmaster tree, we are going to take a lot of points in the Druid, and I would grab these ones first. So you're going to start by taking these 7 points here for the extra armor. That will also apply armor to your minion to help keep them alive. Then you'll take the 7 points here in Claws of the Forest. This is going to give you a lot of % physical damage for your minion. We'll take the 1 travel point here into Blessed Springs. And then we'll grab the 8 points here in Blossoming Garden. What this is going to do is anytime you directly cast a spell or use a movement skill, it's going to automatically cast a Terra's Blessing on a nearby minion. So just another way to proc that heal and try to get those extra buffs on your squirrels. After that, we'll take the 5 points in the Thicket of Thorns. This is going to give you a chance to cast a Thorn Shield on yourself when you're hit, as well as give you some percent armor. We don't care about the damage that this Reflect is doing, but I've noticed that this is actually going to proc one of your aspects as well as the Ice Thorns will. So this is a good way to keep one of your aspects at 100% uptime. And then lastly, we'll take the 5 points in Wind in the Leaves for the 15% increased attack speed for your minions. And finally, we have the Beastmaster tree. We're going to start off with the 8 points in Earthside Strength. It's going to give us 16% less damage taken from nearby enemies, as well as Strength does scale the Squirrel's damage. We'll take the 5 points into Boar Heart. That's going to make it so we proc Aspect of the Boar anytime we take a melee hit, which is going to give you 15% reduced damage taken. 5 points into Call of the Pack for health for yourself and your minion, as well as anytime you use a minion ability, it's going to heal all your minions. 8 points into the Chase for the minion attack speed and move speed. 5 points here for Aspect of the Board to give you an additional 15% damage reduction. 5 points over here for more of that strength scaling. 8 points into Hawk Wings. This is going to give your minion some dodge rating there and haste chance on hit. We have one source of proccing haste when the totem's up, but that won't be quite 100% of the time. So this will help fill in for the rest, as well as we are going to get a little bit of dodge scaling for your minion. And then here's our big aspect here, Viper Fangs. So when you hit an enemy, you have a chance for you and your companions to be granted Aspect of the Viper, which is going to give them 50% increased melee attack speed, and it's going to make them do 100% increased damage over time. So we're proccing this with both the Ice Thorns and the Thorns Shield from the Druid passive tree. So you shouldn't really ever have to manually cast this unless you're doing like a single target boss, in which case you can just cast Ice Thorns. Take the 1 point into Force of Nature for the maximum companion limit. That'll give us 2 extra squirrels since we get double the squirrels for every wolf that we would have gotten. And then the 5 remaining points into Rattlesnake. This is going to give you increased Aspect of the Viper duration, just making it easier to have that 100% uptime. Alrighty guys, now that we know all the skills we're working with and passives, I just want to go over the quick rotation of the build in case anyone didn't see what I was doing there in the video. So it's super simple. We're obviously going to click Summon Wolves to put our squirrels out for us. And then what I do is I auto-cast both the Owl from the Wolves and the Summon Frenzy Totem. Just doing the Numlock trick. Works in pretty much every action RPG. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and put something in the comments there and I'll help explain it to you in the comments. But I have both of these auto-casting for me. And then you just cast Warcry on cooldown for all of the buffs. You almost never have to cast Ice Thorns. That's going to be auto-procced by enemies attacking you. I only do this for bossing. And then I don't even have a Terra's Blessing on my bar. It's going to be auto-cast from the leap here from our passive node in Druid right here, as well as being in range of our totem will make it auto-cast. So we don't even need it on our bar. So basically we just have the squirrels go to town and attack stuff, and we're just popping our cooldowns as they come up. And that is the extent of the build. It is super lazy. You could technically even put this on Warcry and autocast if you wanted to, and not have to click anything but Fury Leap. For stat priority on the prefixes, we're going to be first looking for a chance to bleed on minion hit. So you'll get that on the chest and the helmet. Plus levels to summon Wolf. That's also going to come from the helmet, so try to get a +3 if you can. Third will be mana regen. I bare minimum try to get about 12 mana per second. Somewhere around the 14-15 range is going to feel a lot better though. Fourth would be minion health. Fifth is minion damage. And finally, minion health regen. I would try to get one piece with about a T4 minion health regen, just in case the minions don't have anything to attack, they can still regen in boss fights. For the suffixes, we're looking to get your resistance capped at 75%, crit avoidance capped at 100%, percent minion damage over time. This is going to be a weapon stat. This is the only stat that matters on your weapon. Fourth will be getting hybrid HP, followed by percent HP and flat HP. Alrighty guys, now as far as the rest of the gear goes, I'm going to hover over each piece and kind of show you the stats, but I did want to quickly explain why I have 2 legendary pieces of gear in this build. So these 2 uniques right here, these are not needed for the build to function. I simply made them a legendary so you could see what a really good rare item would look like. And in the case of the chest piece, you're actually better off having a really good rare than you would be just running the unique. But if you happen to get some LP on one of the Doublet of Onos, by all means, you should craft it and use it. As far as the Fang, if you don't use the Fang, just make sure you take the extra passive point in the Wolf tree that I had talked about. Otherwise, this is what the rare amulet would look like that you'd want. Other than that, we have the required unique for the Herald of Scurry. For the weapon, just try to get an Obsidian Axe because it gives you the increased physical minion damage, and then just craft increased minion damage over time on there. No other stats matter. That's the only stat that you're looking for on there. Rest of the gear is just following the stat priority that I had listed before. So grab that. As far as the idols go, we're mainly just looking for stuff that gives you bleed duration, increased aspect of the Viper duration, minion chance to bleed on hit, and some increased health. Alrighty guys, that is going to wrap up the video. If you'd like to see me creating these builds live, you can check me out at twitch.tv/pinchingloaf. And if there is a build you'd like to see me make, let me know down in the comments below. I'll catch you guys later.